Um, Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Blaque on Twitter, but my name is Ewan Boateng. I am the president of Quality Health Africa and SpherePoint Conglomerate Limited. Um, I want to align myself for the most part with what Austin just said. You see, we are having the discussion of Article 146 because a group of or a percentage of the Ghanaians believe that heads of our state institutions should not be held accountable if there are petty offenses allegedly. The Constitution has served us very well. I don't remember the last time the United States, did a constitutional review, but rather when they have lacunas or constitutional crisis, they focus on that specific provision in the Constitution and file amendments when necessary. But in this particular case, there isn't the situation, in my opinion, that there aren't enough provisions in the Constitution to cater or to cure to the issues that have risen. The Constitution allows for heads of institutions to be appointed. And this is one part that I disagree with the Constitution when it says all branches are equal. And I think I mentioned this on a previous space. They are not equal in the way they are appointed. They are not equal in the manner in which they are both scrutinized and assessed by the population before they are appointed, especially in the judiciary. And I think we usually underestimate the powers of the judiciary. All 34 million people's fundamental human rights and their freedoms are in the hands of the judiciary. The executive, by way of police and military, can arrest you, but it is the judiciary that determines your fate. Most of the Ghanaian citizens do not know which judges are on the High Court, the Appeals Court, and the Supreme Courts. However, these are leaders who have our lives in their hands. And we are saying that when there have been accusations or allegations of malpractice in whatever manner, the means the Constitution have laid down for their removal needs to be amended because in this particular case, the allegations that have been made by the petitioners are frivolous. We haven't said that the Constitution hasn't provided a means for which justice must be served. So I think we are using outliers to compel the whole nation to throw away a procedure or provisions that have served us peacefully. I believe this has been one of the most robust and long-lasting constitutions in the sub-region, right? So now let's look at the appointment. Most people do not necessarily have as much of a problem with the appointment against the actual removal. Now, in the United States, in a state like Maryland, whenever you go up for elections, there's going to be a list of judges on the ballot for you to vote for. And I actually subscribe to that because now it compels the average citizen to get to know who these judges are. Let's scrutinize their lives, their history, as we do the president. The president's finances, their love lives, their personal conduct are all put on the line. Is it to say that judges are the most perfect human beings? I don't think so. So if we want absolute equality, then the means of appointment should be equal as well. Put the judges on the ballot. Let's take away that security of tenure and let them be voted for periodically so that they can also be upheld to a certain standard. In America, judges cannot do some of the things our judges have been accused of doing in the sub-region and have gotten away with it. Why? Because you are going to be on the ballot once again. Now, when it comes to the Supreme Court judges, of course, in America, they are appointed and then Parliament vote or Congress vote for them. So I'm not sure how we're going to go about those dynamics in Ghana. But if we want the appointment to be by the judicial service, then we are saying that the three branches of government, one particular branch has no involvement of the citizenry in their appointment. And I believe they yield the most power, in my opinion, because there's no right more grave than the fundamental human right of a person. And it's in their hands that it's been put. So if we want to look at a holistic way then let's look at, I see the judiciary to be actually more privileged than the speaker and the president. The president is heavily scrutinized. Now, in the case of review, I think constitutional review is not a bad thing, because as we grow, there are certain things that needs to be changed in how we govern ourselves. And a typical example is the matter of LGBTQI case in America. It compelled them to amend, the definition of marriage, which was between a man and a woman. It was changed under Barack Obama to mean two persons that love each other. In our nation, if there are certain practices that we believe need to be refined, we need to do so. But I think the excessive focus on Article 146, at least since January of this year, is not necessarily justified, because this is more of political sentiment that is compelling us to change the Constitution, but there hasn't been any solution that has been proffered that seems to be bought into by the various stakeholders. So most people have been able to proffer why it needs to be changed, but when you ask for a much more streamlined way of maybe appointing and disappointing the judiciary, there doesn't seem to be any consensus of how that needs to be done. So I think we first need to really focus on talking about, if we want to throw this away, what is a superior and much more comprehensive, formula that we want to follow. And lastly, I'm going to say that the executive has been treated unfairly, and this sounds like a drum I've been beating every week. But we want to take some powers away from the executive. There are three branches of government. So when you take it away from the executive, who do you give it to? Are you giving it to the legislature or the judiciary? So let's really look like I think Austin said, the opposite could be true. So let's look at taking away these powers from the president to even appoint the IGP. The security couple with whom the president is going to work, the president doesn't have a say in the person who is going to manage the internal security and external security of the president and the country. I think by limiting the executive, we also make them vulnerable, because they are the ones, in my opinion, that have a whole lot to lose, because a lot of the institutions run under them. And if we are comparing America to Ghana, understand that it's better to compare a particular state in America and how their government functions versus the whole nation, because America has a federal system and a state level system. So we have state senators and then a governor, who in this case will serve as the president. So when we look at it from that angle, you're going to realize that the governor has a lot of power in the appointment of the chief of police, in the appointment of head of educational systems and administrations, because they all fall within the executive. So let's be very careful in not throwing away a constitution that has served us peacefully for a long time, and understand that with the way the constitution is, if we were not to amend anything at all, the right leaders and political will would continue to serve us. Thank you.